She was mopping the lobby floor when the CEO overheard her speaking Mandarin, Spanish, and French fluently. What happened next surprised the entire company. At Halberg International, most people didn't pay much attention to the cleaning staff. Not out of unkindness, just routine. They worked after hours, pushing carts, changing trash bags, wiping down meeting rooms, blending in like elevator music. It was a Monday morning in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. The main lobby buzzed with footsteps. On tile, fingers tapping on phones. Hurried conversations about deadlines, and people holding coffee like it was fuel for survival. Jonathan Kellerman, the company's CEO, was halfway through his walk from the garage to the 18th floor executive suite when he heard it. A voice, clear, confident, and speaking Mandarin, a language he hadn't heard since his last visit to the Shanghai office. He stopped, not because of the language, but because of who was speaking it. Looking around, he expected to see someone from the international team. Instead, he saw her, a woman in a burgundy janitor's uniform, short twists pulled into a ponytail, standing near the touchscreen lobby directory. She was calmly speaking with an older man in a navy jacket and thick glasses, gently pointing him toward the elevators. Her voice was warm, steady. Kellerman squinted. He'd seen her before, quiet, polite, always in the background after late meetings. He didn't know her name, but now she was confidently explaining the building layout in fluent Mandarin. He stepped closer. She finished speaking Mandarin and turned to a delivery man with a clipboard. She switched to Spanish without missing a beat. "Sí, gracias," he replied, surprised. Then she turned to a vendor, puzzling over mislabeled boxes, and in fluent French said, "C'est la marque pour la salle de conférence B, pas l'autre côté." She smiled gently. Kellerman clenched his jaw, not out of irritation, but something deeper, maybe guilt. He'd worked in global logistics for decades, built programs, hired translators, but the most multilingual person he'd met in years had been quietly cleaning floors 2 levels below. He approached her. "Excuse me?" She turned, startled, but composed. "Yes, sir." "That was Mandarin, right?" "Yes, sir." "You speak it fluently?" "Yes." "And Spanish, French?" She nodded. "Also Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili. I read Latin too, though I don't count that. You speak 9 languages?" "Yes, sir." Her tone was factual without pride or showiness. "What's your name?" "Denise Atwater." "Ms. Atwater, do you have a few minutes?" She hesitated, less out of fear, more the instinct of someone used to being overlooked. She nodded. "All right." He pressed the elevator button and held the door for her. Inside the elevator, silence stretched. "I've worked here for 13 years, she said as they ascended. He looked at her. "Never thought I'd be invited upstairs." He gave a quiet smile. "Things can change quickly." He had no idea how true that would be for both of them. The elevator doors opened. Denise stepped out into the polished wood hallway of the executive suite. It smelled like citrus, leather, money, if it had a scent. Kellerman's assistant looked up, surprised to see her. He gave a quick nod to let them pass. In his glass-walled office, he motioned to a chair across from his desk. "Please, sit." She sat carefully, hands folded, eyes quietly scanning the room. She wasn't impressed, just observant. A large world. Map hung behind him, countries dotted with pins. A tray of espresso cups, a photo of his daughters, and a dusty trade award sat on a side table. Kellerman leaned forward. "Denise, I'll be honest. I didn't plan to have this conversation today." She nodded, slightly unreadable. "But I just saw you switch between 3 languages with ease. And I have to ask, how does someone like you end up cleaning floors?" She paused, looked out the window. "You want the real answer?" "I wouldn't have asked otherwise." She exhaled. "All right." She rubbed her hands together, gathering her thoughts. "I was born in Toledo, Only child. Dad was a pipe fitter, Mom a nurse's aide. They didn't have much, but they believed in education. I got a full ride to Kent State, studied linguistics, started a master's. But my mom got sick, so I came home. She paused. 6 months later, my dad passed. Things unraveled. Her voice was calm, reflective. I had a baby, no partner, no savings. So I took whatever work I could, stores, nursing homes, temp jobs. A janitorial supervisor here offered me night shifts. It let me pick up my daughter from school and keep the lights on. Kellerman listened silently. And the languages. I never stopped learning. Borrowed textbooks, listened to audio lessons, read foreign newspapers. It's the only thing that still makes me feel like I matter. She said it plainly. No drama. Most people never ask, she added. They see the uniform and assume. That last word lingered. Kellerman leaned back, her story weighing heavily. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, she added. Life just happened. I made it work, still do. But you asked. That's the answer. He nodded slowly. Denise was clearly exceptional. Not asking for sympathy, just speaking plainly. You ever think about doing something else? She shrugged. Sometimes. But it's hard to dream when rent's due. The silence returned, fuller now. Kellerman picked up his notebook and jotted something down. What are you writing? She asked. Ideas, he said. But one in particular was forming fast. The conversation stayed with him through the day. Budget meetings, calls, everything. He kept thinking about Denise, about how she had casually listed 9 languages. That kind of fluency wasn't accidental. It came from persistence, discipline, and love of learning. At 3:45 p.m., he took the elevator to the service level. The air was warmer, the walls marked from daily use. He passed crews, break rooms, and carts of bottled water until he found the janitorial supply room. Denise was restocking cloths. Mind if I interrupt again? She turned, surprised. You came down here, he smiled. Couldn't stop thinking. About our talk, I have a favor to ask. What kind of favor? There's a meeting. São Paulo team came early. Our translator cancelled. Can you help? She only hesitated a second. Portuguese? Sure. They headed to conference room. 4C. 4 Brazilian executives looked up from their phones. Denise stepped in, nodded, and began speaking smooth Portuguese. Kellerman watched the shift. Shoulders relaxed, eye contact sharpened. She wasn't just translating, she was building bridges. One of the execs cracked a joke. She replied with, another. They all laughed. Kellerman didn't know the words, but he understood the impact. After 20 minutes, the meeting ended. One executive turned to Kellerman and said, She's better than anyone we've worked with this year. Where'd you find her? Kellerman looked at Denise, who was quietly collecting cups. Right here, he said. Back in the hallway, he caught up with her. You ever do professional translation? No, she said. Just helped out in hospitals, offices. Never had. Time for school, my daughter came first. And where is she now? 26. Nurse in Tempe. Paid for school herself, stubborn like me. They both smiled. For a moment, it didn't feel like CEO and janitor, just 2 parents sharing pride. She returned to finish her shift. Before leaving, she said, I didn't do anything special today. He raised his eyebrows. Didn't look that way to me. She smiled and walked off. That night, Kellerman sat in his car, thinking. The pressure to grow the company, the investor calls, all the talk about diversity and missed potential. They'd been looking globally for talent, but sometimes it's already right here. The real question is, what do you do about it? The next morning, Denise's badge beeped at an unexpected time. She had just finished the East Lobby when her supervisor Ron tapped her shoulder. Mr. Kellerman wants to see you. She blinked. Did I mess up? Ron shook his head. He didn't say, just told me to send you. She wiped her hands and headed upstairs. This time people noticed. They looked up, whispered, even smiled. Something had changed. In the executive suite, Kellerman stood by the window. "Come in," he said. She waited silently until he turned. "I've been thinking about talent," he said, setting down his mug. "How much we overlook, not because people aren't capable, but because we don't look hard enough." Denise said nothing. "I want to create a new role," he continued, "one we've never had, but badly need. A cultural liaison for international affairs. Someone who understands languages, nuances, people. You're more qualified than most on our leadership team." She stared at him. "This real? As real as it gets. I don't have a degree. You have something better. Experience, dedication, fluency. A diploma won't teach that." She shifted. "Why me?" He met her eyes. "Because I watched you solve 3 problems in 3 languages before 9 a.m. And I'm tired of walking past people doing double the work for half the credit." She folded her arms. "You know what people will say. I do, I don't care." She held his gaze, then exhaled. "I've never had an office job, never had a title. You'll learn fast. I don't have clothes for this. HR will give you a clothing stipend," she chuckled. "You really thought this through." "I'm trying," she paused. "What about my shift?" "We'll hire someone, but nobody can replace you." She looked at her hands, then back up. "This isn't a handout. No, it's recognition." She blinked back tears. "Okay then. Let's see what I can do." They shook hands. It wasn't just agreement, it was a new chapter. By Wednesday, everyone knew. Denise Atwater, the night janitor, had been promoted to an executive role. Whispers flew. Some said she spoke many languages. Others thought she had a secret past. Government, undercover. In the break room, 2 marketing assistants leaned in. "I've got a master's in international business," one said. "She was cleaning urinals last week." The other shrugged. "Maybe she knows something we don't." Some supported it. Others questioned it. Not everyone was pleased. Denise felt it the moment she entered. Her new office, simple, clean, unfamiliar. She asked HR if she could keep her uniform, not to wear, just to remember. That afternoon, Victor from International Ops walked in. No handshake, no seat. "So, you're the new liaison?" "That's what I'm told." "You have corporate experience," she smiled. "Only from the outside." He didn't laugh. "I've got files from Italy, Dubai contracts, and São Paulo vendor issues. Think you can handle it?" "I'll need a few hours to review, but yes." He dropped the folder and left. Later, Kellerman checked in. "How was your first day?" She leaned back. "I've had worse." "Victor tough?" "He doesn't scare me." She paused. "Can I ask something?" "Of course." "Why now? Why me? You could have just given me a bonus." He leaned on the doorframe. "Because I saw myself in you." She raised an eyebrow. "You were a janitor." "No. But I was overlooked, worked 3 jobs, came from nothing. People didn't think I belonged here." She nodded. "Now you decide who belongs." "Exactly." She looked at the folder. "I'm nervous." "Good. That means it matters. There'll be people who don't like it. They'll adjust. Or not. We're moving forward." He stood straight. "You've got a real story, Denise. Now you've got a platform." When he left, she looked around. She remembered missed birthdays, aching feet, promotions that passed her by. She opened her drawer, placed her old badge inside, not to forget, but to remember exactly what it took to get here. But the story was no longer just hers, and the spotlight was just getting started. "We see you." No title, just 3 simple words that meant everything. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. People didn't just come to her for translations anymore. They came for support, for advice, for clarity. She became the go-to person before team members shared ideas. Interns would seek her out for tips before key presentations, and she never spoke down to anyone. One of the interns, a quiet Vietnamese student named Bao, once asked, "How did you learn all those languages?" She smiled. "1 word at a time, the same way you will." Denise wasn't just doing her job, she was shaping the environment. One afternoon, Kellerman joined her for a coffee break. "I've been hearing good things," he said. She took a sip. "Trying to tune out the bad." "You're making waves." She glanced at him. "Is that a good thing?" He smiled. "Here, it means you're on the right path." They stood quietly for a moment. Then he added, "I've been thinking, what if we launched a training program for in-house talent, especially for those in non-desk roles? I bet there are more people like you here." She nodded. "There are. They just haven't been noticed." Yet he looked at her. "Would you want to help build it?" She smiled. "I already started planning it in my head." By the end of the month, the pilot launched. A new program called Voice Inside, created to give employees from all departments access to language skills, leadership coaching, and visibility across Bill, the company. It was Denise's concept, and it quickly gained traction. Later, she was invited to speak at a logistics leadership summit in Cincinnati. She didn't tell her story as inspiration. It was a wake-up call. "I was never just a janitor," she told the audience. "I was fluent, I was qualified, I was ready, but no one looked close enough to see it. So next time you walk past someone without a title, ask yourself, what are you missing?" The room was silent. Then a full standing ovation. As she left, a young man stopped her, eyes filled with emotion. "My mom's a housekeeper," he said. "She speaks 5 languages. I used to be embarrassed to admit that." Denise gently touched his arm. "Never feel ashamed of where you come from. The only real shame is ignoring greatness when it's right in front of you." She walked out of that building with her head higher than ever, not because of applause or a new title, but because she hadn't changed who she was to fit in. She brought every part of her story with her, and that made all the difference. Don't assume you understand someone's value based on their clothes, their job, or their resume. Talent doesn't come with a uniform. Intelligence doesn't need approval. And brilliance can walk past you in a name tag, pushing a mop. If you've ever been overlooked, dismissed, or ignored, keep moving. The right eyes will find you. And when they do, don't hesitate to take your seat at the table. Better yet, bring a few extra chairs.